What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our NFL season predictions. And in this video, I always have my boy Ethan joining me, but we'll be breaking down the four teams in the NFC North and who we have winning. But make sure you subscribe to our channel. 500 subscribers, we'll be doing giveaway.
NFC North.
And then we will start with the Chicago Bears. And this team is looking for some improvement off of last year. They only had two key departures, losing David Montgomery and Riley Reef. And what did they add? Well, this team went all in to build a good team around Fields this year. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender this year, but they will at least try to make the playoffs as a wild card team. And adding Deonta Foreman to replace Montgomery along with Khalil Herbert will be a good 1-2 punch. DJ Moore was obviously the trade of, before the draft, the offseason, so they can move up and get DJ Moore and have Justin Fields as a weapon. Robert Tonyan, Yannick Ngakoue, TJ Edwards, and Tremaine Edwards all boost that defense, which was needing some help to say the least. But I don't think this year is the year they take that huge step forward. I think it'll be a big step forward for the Bears, but I just think the NFC North is too good for them right now to be in a place where they're going to be competing. And I think that's where I get that 6-11 prediction. I haven't beaten Detroit at home, and they just go 1-5 against the North. And if you want to compete, you have to have a better record.
Yeah, I got them going 9-8, so slightly better than you. Still around. I think their floor is about 6-11, so you have them at my floor. I like their additions. Obviously, Yannick Ngakoue and Tremaine Edmonds are big time on the defensive end, and TJ Edwards as well. DJ Moore, receiver, that's huge for Justin Fields. I think he's going to be explosive, over the top weapon for the Chicago offense. But Bears in a tough division, kind of a tough division. They always play close with Green Bay, your team, and Minnesota and Detroit. So I think a 9-8 and finishing in third place is about where I'm at.
And then we have the Detroit Lions. Last year, 9-8, almost made the playoffs. If Seattle didn't win last week of the season, they would have been in the playoffs and going to San Francisco to play. But it didn't happen. They instead ended the Packers season of them not making the playoffs and looking to build off of a strong year. But I, think that the NFC North is between Lions, Vikings, and Packers to win the division. And one of those teams, unfortunately, is going to be a team that ultimately fails to do so and kind of falls hard. And I think it's going to be the Lions going 8-9. I mean, you can see departures there. Didn't really lose, a big piece of their team. But what did they add to the team? Well, they added 4 solid rookies in the first 2 rounds. Then he added Teddy Bridgewater as the backup, Montgomery alongside Gibbs, Marvin Jones coming back, Graham Glass now the center to boost the offensive line, and then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which is a very underrated pickup for only 1 year, but it shows that he thinks that this Lions team could be something special. But I just don't see it. But I do see it happening this year. I even have them making the playoffs at 8-9. Yes, that's correct. I have a team as a wild card team going 8-9 and making the playoffs, so the Lions fans can still have hope.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope here for Detroit this season. Obviously, the hype train, everyone's boarding the hype train for the Lions. I guess you can say I am too. I just really like their draft this year, getting Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, and Brian Branch. I mean, those are 4 solid players coming out of college that are really going to boost their roster. I think if you look at the schedule, that Week 18 game against Minnesota at home is what's going to win them the division, in my opinion. It's going to be a really tough battle all year with Minnesota. I think Detroit is just slightly more all around and have a better defense. So that's why I'm picking the Lions.
And then I got to talk about my Packers here, going 10-7 and making the playoffs and winning the NFC North. Obviously, we did lose a lot, including, one of the best quarterbacks in franchise and probably NFL history in Aaron Rodgers. And what did he do? He brought all his friends with him to the Jets, Lazard and Cobb. And even we lost Mason Crosby, who's been a lifelong Packer for as long as I've been watching football. But what did we do? We had another great draft, getting some help for Jordan Love in his first year, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, then bolstering our defense, because I think we have now 8 first-round picks on our defense. And then we also have our kicker, which is Anders Carlson, who is the brother of Dylan Carlson, the kicker for the Raiders. And he's been solid as well. But, obviously the big question mark is Jordan Love coming into the season. Can he be the guy to not just replace Rodgers, but keep this franchise going of playing competitive football? And I think it's going to happen. I'm not expecting the world here. He's going to have his lumps. He's going to have his 2, maybe 3 interception games, but it's going to be how they respond. And I think having a veteran core around him, not weapons, but veteran core around him, is going to help him out in the long run and how they respond. And I think, you can see there, I have them losing 2 games in a row back to back, but they come back and be the team that they need to be at the time to advance to take it to the next step. And I think it's just a big year for the Packers. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to turn some heads, and Jordan Love's going to get his respect this year.
Yeah, that's quite the prediction. I'm kind of with you with the Jordan Love talk. I guess we'll have to see. But this preseason, he's been one of the best quarterbacks, the most impressive quarterbacks so far, and he's looked good. I think 7-10 record will still be a kind of a successful season. If you look at that start, it's kind of a tough start. I think Jordan Love gets his feet wet and ends up winning a few games down the stretch to make it close. And then week 17 and 18, taking losses, tough division losses. So not a bad year as long as Jordan Love is playing good and they know that he's going to be the starting quarterback going into next season. I think it's a successful year for the Packers.
Then the last team in the North, you got the Minnesota Vikings, and we both have them making the playoffs. You and I both have them making it as a wild card. They lost, I want to say, not a lot, but some key pieces. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is a 1,000-yard rusher. That's tough to replace. Adam Thielen, underrated receiver, and then the core of their defense, Eric Kendricks. I just think that's going to be a bigger loss than a lot of people think. But what did they do to help their team out? They brought in Jordan Addison, who I think is going to be better than Adam Thielen was. So they'll get more production from the receiver standpoint, and then Dean Lowry, a good edge rusher. But the Vikings, they're a team to me that I think last year was a little bit of a fluke, winning all those 1-possession games at the end of the year, being undefeated in the regular season in 1-possession games. So I think they're due to take a minor step back. I don't think it's going to be a huge step back, but 13-4 last year was kind of out of the ordinary, and I think they'll go to 10-7 and make the playoffs. They'll finish strong heading into the playoffs, though.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That won't happen 2 years in a row where they're winning all those 1-possession games. And you got to remember that game against the Colts was the greatest comeback in NFL history. So a lot of games that really they didn't look good in at all, but they grinded it out. And that's kind of what Kirk Cousins does. I mean, after watching quarterback, I don't know about you guys, but quarterback really gave me the respect for Kirk Cousins. 11-6 record this year is pretty successful year for Minnesota.
And then you can see all of my picks so far. So I have already 5 teams making the playoffs out of the NFC. So there's my 2 teams. So now it's just a matter of who's going to win each division that makes the playoffs. And then obviously my AFC as well.
Yeah, I only got one of my wild card teams. So lots of more picks for my side. But I'm excited to go into the next week in NFC South. That's going to be an interesting one. Just excited for that.
But that's going to be it for our video today. Make sure you guys come back to see the NFC South and NFC West predictions and our Super Bowl predictions as well. But until the next time, Bench Buddies are out.